Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Jones. I'm your host of Sideline Shenanigans. I have Coach Jake Miners from East Central High School, and I'm not sure where East Central is, but somewhere in Indiana. But Coach, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm not sure a lot of people know where East Central High School is, but we're in southeastern Indiana. We're really a suburb of the greater Cincinnati area. We are the second to last exit on 74, Interstate 74, as you're heading from Indianapolis to Cincinnati.
Oh, okay, all right. I like that. I
Yeah.
love going to Cincinnati. Um, all right. My first question I usually ask is, when you first started coaching, was there a person or a moment that really like sparked it?
Yeah, I think I'd always been interested in coaching football. I had played football growing up, and it was always a special sport in my mind. And it was something that I felt like I really want to get into. I wanted to give back. I want to give back to the community that I grew up in, and if at all possible. But really, when I got into coaching, Don Stonefield and Tim Belmer are two guys that I had played high school football for
Mhm.
growing up, played high school football for them, and got the opportunity to coach with them. Those guys really were my mentors early on, getting into coaching and trying to figure out the coaching world and how all this stuff works. And those guys really spurred me to honestly make a career of it. Keep giving back and keep learning, keep investing in our community and, the young kids we have in our community.
How would you describe your overall coaching philosophy?
Yeah, first of all, I think that the game of football, there's nothing like it. You really learn how to handle people. And I tell our guys all the time, we carry a roster of about 120 to 125 on a year-to-year basis, and I tell our guys all the time that we're not always going to like each other, but we will love each other. And so you really
Mhm.
learn how to um, handle different people from different walks of life and to be a great teammate. And so we really tried to preach that brotherhood within our program, really try to teach those life lessons. But, as far as the game of football itself, we try to play really stout defense. We try to fly around it and really be in attack mode on defense. And we really like to run the football. We like to run the football and have a nice play action game off of that. And so that historically has been East Central. It's been East Central football. It's what we're known for. So we just try to continue on that tradition. And I think we've done a pretty good job at it. It really starts at our youth level that they really learn our brand of football and the way that we play. Then by the time they get to the high school level, they just understand that that's the style that we play, and that's been very successful for our program.
So let me guess, the offense a wing T?
So we do have some elements of double wing for sure
Yes.
that our kids grow up running. We identify ourselves as a spread offense. Most of the time we're in 11 personnel with one
Mhm.
running back and one tight end. Have some
Mhm.
receivers. We do run a lot of that game, but yes, we do always carry a heavy package with our double wing that definitely comes out in moments for us.
I love the wing T for one reason and one reason only, the
Yeah,
chaos. And
yeah,
this is what the podcast is about, just chaos.
yeah. No, it's awesome, and our youth program really does a good job running it. Growing up, it teaches a lot of great blocking schemes. Really teaches kids how to run the football and block. And um, you know, the unique thing about us, I guess, when we go to the spread, is our terminology doesn't really change a whole lot when we get into the spread. We use a lot of those same teaching points, within our spread game. So it's a great offense. I will always love that offense. It's a bread and butter that our kids can run at any point.
How do you balance between being a mentor and a disciplinarian?
It's a good question. It's really challenging. I think when you're a head coach, some days you're you're an X's and O's coach. Some days you're a mentor. Some days you're a disciplinarian. Some days you're a guidance counselor. Some days you're a marketing director or a social media guy. You wear a bunch of different hats when you're a head coach. So I think that you really have to have discipline within your program, right? You have to have a standard that you hold your kids accountable to. And so you as a head coach really have to manage that discipline piece. But at the same time, we always like to talk about the why. And I always, anytime that we discipline a player, we are going to have a conversation about the why and how we can move forward and better ourselves from this. And we really talk a lot about us being humans. We're going to make mistakes, but how do we overcome those mistakes? And I think that's, as young men learn in life, I think that's how you really learn some valuable life lessons. So, that's kind of how we approach that mentoring piece. We also really put a lot of stock in teaching leadership within our program. Made a lot during the offseason where we have conversations, posting anything that I can find that might be a betterment for these guys. So I would definitely say it is a challenge from time to time. It's a fine line to walk between that, but we don't have a whole lot of discipline issues within our program, because when our guys step in the door as freshmen, that they really understand our standard. We set that standard pretty early on. We have a great freshman staff that continues with that standard, that sets that foundation with those guys, a great middle school staff that does the same thing. So by the time those guys reach the varsity level, there's not a whole lot of discipline, but you definitely have to have standards and you have to hold kids accountable to it.
What's your take on mental health and its place in football?
Yeah, it's extremely important. I think the IFCA, the Indiana Football Coaches Association, has done a really good job of offering coaches throughout the state just some learning about mental health issues, and always pushing out data behind things and some articles about how we can approach that with our team. But, I just think it's a society in general. I'm a teacher throughout the day as well, and you just see what these young people are dealing with on a daily basis. And so the mental health and mental illness is definitely stuff that we talk about as a program with our players. And I think one thing that our staff does a really good job of is connecting with the players more than football, right? Like you have to be fully invested in these young people's lives, so that way you understand where they're at, mentally, off the field. What are they doing in the classroom? What's their life like at home? And continually be there to support these guys, and let them know, that we're a resource that they can lean on.
How do you prepare your team emotionally for big games?
Yeah, so we really try to approach. We played in a lot of big games over the last few years, and it's been a great run. And you want to play in those big games. You want to play in those challenging games. But I think from a coaching perspective, the more normal you can make a week for these guys, a work week, the better. So, we don't treat any opponent any differently, whether we're playing Moeller, which is one of the premier programs out of the Cincinnati area, a nationally ranked program almost on a yearly basis. Or we're playing anybody else, a team that might be struggling. Our work week and our preparation is the same. We challenge ourselves as a coaching staff too, that we have a process of the way we evaluate film, the way that we develop scouting reports for our players. The players get those scouting reports, and then the weekly basis as far as practice and the mental side of things kind of take care of themselves. But I think the more honest we can be with the guys, the better, right? And I think people get so emotionally charged in those big games that we just talk about going out and playing our brand of football. You just play our brand of football, and that will lead you to success. And so, but you're also dealing with young people, and you're dealing with young people that can get emotionally charged. So, I mean, letting them know that, that it is going to be a big environment, but that's what we play the game of football for, is we want to play in those big environments. And so we want to play in those games. And I think the more games that we have played in the big games that we have played, our guys have continued to get better and better because they truly understand that the preparation has to be the same. And, they're not making the game bigger than what it actually is. It's a game of football between, 11 players from one high school against 11 players from another high school that are the same age. So, let's go out and put our best foot forward and give ourselves the best opportunity to win.
What's your philosophy on special teams?
So we put a huge stock on special teams. So our kids, I think a lot of coaches really preach that there's 3 phases of the game. But to me, do you really value 3 phases of the game? So that means, are you giving as much practice time? Are you giving as much preparation to special teams? Because the things I have learned, being a head coach is that can win and lose you games. You can win and lose games through special teams. And so our philosophy is that we're going to give a special team scouting report. There's going to be special teams periods where we're working against scout teams and things like that. Our best players are going to play special teams. It's not a play off for our guys. Our special teams are full of our starters and guys who are the best player for that position. And so we truly value it. And I think that it's been an importance in our program. Our players understand it. Our coaches understand it. And I think it has led us to being pretty successful on a Friday night.
Okay, Coach. So as you know, a new transfer rule has came out a few weeks ago. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't really know where I stand on it just yet. I think that I know there's been a lot of issues approached at the state level, in the past as far as the old transfer rule and people wanting to move schools and things like that. But I don't know how I feel about this yet, because what I don't want it to become is we are truly, scholastic sport, and we are built around education, and football is an extension of that. And so I don't want it to become where guys are just, at school one year, a little disgruntled, jump into another school, a little disgruntled, and continually move around. And so I truly hope that we don't see those things. I don't think we're in rural Indiana, so we haven't experienced a whole lot of that just yet. I don't know if it's going to come or not, but I really think that as a head coach, you better be prepared for it. You better know how to handle it, right? And we've had a few players that have moved into our program where they might have played at other schools, and then their family moves, and under the old rules, their family moves into our district and have played for us and turned out to be pretty good players for us, and things like that. But I just hope it doesn't go down a road of where we can't get back. You see the college game right now, and that kind of concerns me a little bit. And I don't want to go down that path. I want to make sure that we're still offering quality football, yes, but quality education where we're not doing a disservice to kids as well.
What makes East Central football unique?
Yeah, so East Central football is really unique because we have great numbers. I mentioned before that we have we carry about 120, 125. We are a 4A school. We have about 1,200 kids that are playing up in 5A right now due to the success factor. But we have over 100 in our 7th and 8th grade, and we have over 360 playing tackle football K through 6. So our community really wraps its hands around football. It really wants the high school program to be successful. And I think one thing that's unique is we don't try to be anybody else but East Central. I think it's easy, especially in the social media world, of going and grasping at different things and saying, no, because they were successful, we got to go do that. Well, we don't try to do that. We just try to be the best we can be doing what we do. And that's the way we try to develop. That's our mantra, and it's proven to be successful for us. So, I don't think that's going to change. And I really think that's now we have different kids every year too. So like you have to adjust your schemes. We always try to put kids in the best position to play. So I'm not saying that we don't do some of those things, but we don't, compare ourselves to anybody else. We're just trying to be the best version of East Central on a yearly basis. And I think that's the best thing that we can do.
All right. What are the pillars of Trojan football?
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to have some pillars such as loyalty to the program, the brotherhood, the discipline aspect. What are the expectations when you play East Central football? I tell our freshman parents when we have a freshman parent meeting that your son is going to be a better man because he played East Central football for 4 years. Like, we're going to teach life lessons. We're going to do all that sort of stuff. But really on the field, we try to keep things as simple as possible. On defense, we talk about tackles and turnovers. On offense, we talk about taking care of the football and scoring points. On special teams, we talk about possessing the football and gaining yards. Whether that's on the kickoff or making a great tackle on the kickoff, or whether we have a great kickoff return. So we try to keep things as simple as possible for our players, because our players, if they play defense for us, if they tell you what's good, if you ask them, what's going to lead you to success on this Friday night, they're going to tell you, we're going to be good tacklers and we're going to create turnovers. And that's, I want them to be able to identify those things on the football field. So that way we can have success, because I don't want the guys, I want them going out and having fun, enjoying themselves and flying around. If they're thinking too much and all that sort of stuff, it's not going to lead to success for us. So, we really try to just teach those points. I don't want to say we have an old school approach because we definitely have modernized things in the last 6 years, but we also try to keep things extremely simple for our guys so they can go out and play.
What role do your seniors play in setting the tone for the team?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think any coach would tell you, if you have a great senior class with great leadership, it's going to lead to a lot of success on a Friday night. And so our leaders are definitely our seniors every year. I've heard it growing up, and I use the adage all the time that you'll only go as far as your seniors will take you. And that's going on right now, right? You're just coming off our limited contact period that we were able to have, our little spring ball. Been heavy in the weight room, last several months. So we've had great senior leadership. So my approach to like team captains is, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because they're mostly seniors. Sometimes we'll have a junior voted team captain because he's a great leader, but most of the time they're seniors. And I let our players truly pick 4 guys every year. I take their vote every year because I think it's important to show these are the guys, your teammates are the ones that voted this for you. This wasn't my 4 favorite guys that I liked. These are the guys who your teammates say it. So it's a huge honor in our program to be elected a team captain. But really, your senior group is going to lead the charge. And again, you're only as successful as what they're willing to be.
How do you hold the captains accountable?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, just because you were elected a team captain doesn't mean that you stay a team captain. And been really fortunate to not really have to deal with that situation because we've had some great team captains over the years. But I let them know that, and I'll bring them in. We meet on a weekly basis because I want to hear their opinion, and things like that. But I let them know that they follow the same discipline as the rest of the team, and we have to. If you break a team rule, that you're going to face the discipline just like anybody else, and I think that accountability piece is that they know me, and they know that I will hold them to a standard, and I will hold them to an even higher standard because they have been voted team captain. But I've been really fortunate. We've had really good guys, the last several years, and I haven't had to really have those conversations or really, remove anybody from a team captain.
How do you develop underclassmen?
So it's extremely important. I think it's one thing that our staff does a really good job of. I mentioned our freshman staff of developing kids, and I think even going down into our youth program, we meet with our youth coaches and, kind of talk to them a lot about blocking schemes, tackling technique, all that sort of stuff, to really start laying the foundation. And as they progress to middle school, we have a great middle school staff that really teaches fundamentals. And I think we put a huge stock on fundamentals. I remember years where we've been fortunate enough to be in the state championship game, and that week we're still working fundamentals. We're still working the fine tune of each position. It's important to continue to develop those underclassmen, because when you have a roster size, that's as big as ours, you're going to have guys that are kind of backlogged, honestly, like at their position that they play. So they might be a junior or senior before they step on the field. And I think you got to remember too, we're also dealing with young people, so they mature at a different rate. They hit puberty at a different rate. And so you never really know what that kid's going to develop like from a size standpoint, but on a daily basis, continuing to preach fundamentals. Our freshman team, they practice with us about half of the practice while we were working those fundamentals, because we're putting a focus on that development and making a connection there. So it's a vital piece to what we do. And I don't think we'd be as successful if we didn't put stock on developing those guys.
Absolutely. All right, let me take a look at your schedule here. You got Lawrenceburg, Harrison in Ohio. I'm not sure where they're at in their program. Lawrence North, that's a decent 6A program. Franklin County, Batesville, South Dearborn, Connorsville, Greensburg. Speaking of Greensburg, I've had Coach Slager on.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Really good guy. And Ron Acali.
Yeah.
Now, Ron Acali is a tough team to play, especially at the end of the season. What would you say your toughest game on the schedule is?
Well, it's something that we preach. It's always the next game's our toughest game, and I think you have to take it that way. We play a really challenging schedule. We've been in the EIAC. We are the biggest school in the EIAC. That's no secret to Southeastern Indiana football. We've really tried to, attack the non-conference schedule to really challenge ourselves with some big-time games and try to prepare ourselves. We're playing 5A football right now, and we're trying to prepare ourselves for the 5A state or for the 5A tournament. I'm sorry, to hopefully continue to advance in there. We have Cathedral coming back to 5A and New Pal coming into 5A. We have a really tough sectional in 5A that we have to be prepared for, and so each week it's a challenge for us. And Lawrenceburg's made some state championship runs in 3A. And we go to Harrison, Ohio. That's our big rival down the road. So they're a Division II school in Ohio. Division I's the biggest school. Division II is the next class there. Been some really tough battles over the years with Harrison. And then Lawrence North, that's a new one for us. We've been playing Moeller out of Cincinnati the last 5 years, and in that slot there in week 3. And it's going to be a great game. That we know what they did last year. We know what they've done the last couple of years, and the big challenge that's in front of us, heading up there of all places to go challenge ourselves. So we think that's going to be a heck of a game. And then we kind of get heavy in the conference, and our conference has done a really good job. If you look at our conference schools when they play out of conference, they've been extremely strong the last few years playing out of conference. And Batesville made a great run last year in the 3A playoffs. And then Greensburg getting Coach Slager coming over from Rushville. Rushville, he took over that program, and got them to a conference championship last year. And now he's taking over a new challenge in Greensburg. So we're looking that they're going to be an improved football team. And finishing off the year with Roncalli. So Roncalli in the early 2000s, we were battling with them in the 4A playoffs in the semi-state, and it was some great battles back and forth. And so we had the opportunity several years ago to get Roncalli on our schedule week 9, and man, I love that game. It is a bruising, taxing game. But I love it heading into the playoffs. It really, really sets the tone of what kind of football and brand that you have to play. Coach Otley does it. He's doing a great job up there, and those guys, they're a challenge. But reason I love that game is I know they're a Catholic school and we're a public school, but we really play the game of football very similarly, and that is. Really, really tough football. And so that's a great one to end the year. And it's developed into a nice little rivalry. That series has gone back and forth. I'll tell you that the series record up at Roncalli is not really good from our standpoint. We were able to get them the last time we were up there. So we got to go up there again this year. They got us back at our place last year. So they returned the favor a little bit to us. And so we got to head back up there. It's a great environment for high school football to be able to finish up the year.
What is your favorite road atmosphere?
Oh, man, my favorite road atmosphere. Well, the Harrison, Ohio one's a pretty good one just because there's so many people there. They do a really good job with their game day environment, and it's really fun down there. And that one's a rivalry game, so that one's always fun to play in. But right down the road from us, Lawrenceburg has one of the better venues. They call it the Pit. So it's a hostile environment. The fans are right on top of you. That one's a week 1 matchup for us, so everyone's excited. They're a Dearborn County school too. We're a Dearborn County school, so it's a nice little deal there. We played at the Wrights Bowl several years ago. That was a really cool environment. We played at Enloe Field down there in Evansville as well. That's a historic environment. So we've got to play at some really cool ones, over the last few years. But I tell you what, Indiana has a lot of good football environments to go play in. A lot of nice football stadiums, a lot of historic football stadiums. One that stuck out to me the last few years has been Martinsville. They have a really cool thing that they do right before pregame. They got all these lights that flash everywhere, everything. They have great sound system, great fans, great student body, all that stuff. So a lot of good ones that we have definitely played in over the years.
Definitely. My favorite field that I played on, I played 1A ball, small school ball.
Yeah.
It was my home stadium, Lewis Bruce Field. They just moved it, and I don't know if they kept the name or not, but old Lewis Bruce Field.
Yeah.
Environment was great. You can't beat small school ball at all. I don't know if you've ever seen any games from 1A ball. Go to a 1A game if you ever get the chance.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
1A schools are intense.
Yeah.
2A schools too. You think about it, you got Lafayette Central Catholic. That environment is wild. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, we have Milan right up the road, playing in 2A. Theirs is a fun one too. North Decatur recently has been a fun environment from what I hear. I haven't caught a game over there, but from what I hear, they've had a nice environment as well.
What's your least favorite bus ride?
Oh, man. Hands down, Evansville. We've made that trip in the regional final when we've been in 4A. Too many times that as a head coach that I care to make that trip, so much so that we know exactly where to stop. We know the exact timeline of how long it's going to take and all of that. But that bus trip is just long. It's a regional final for us, but when you're going there on a bus, it's about 4 hours, and that's not a fun one for us to make. In fact, the last time that we had played there in 2023, one of our buses actually broke down on the way back. So one of our buses didn't get home until about 4:30 in the morning. So that one definitely, without a doubt, in my mind, and not only that, but you're going over and playing. We played Evansville Rights. We played Evansville Memorial a couple of times. Great football teams that you have to play really well to win. So the environment's really cool once you get there. But man, that's a long bus trip.
Yeah, especially if you lose and the bus breaks down. That's a mood killer, I would
Yeah.
say. But since you guys won state that year, right?
Yeah. But we
Yeah,
made that bus trip after losing. Fortunately, the bus didn't break down that year, but we've made that trip before when we've lost Evansville Memorial coming back. And no, that is not a fun one because you're sitting and stewing on it for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. What made you want to be a coach?
Yeah, I think, obviously wanting to stay in the game of football. I love football. I'm an extremely competitive person, so that competitive aspect is definitely present. But I think it's just being able to give back to what
Mm-hmm.
has developed me as a man. The life lessons that I learned along the way from some really great coaches. And so that's really what kind of piqued my interest. And quite honestly, it's a funny story that when I was in high school, I wasn't really thinking about coaching, anything like that. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, but I had a woman by the name of Sue Story that I was actually working with one of her relatives pitching because I played baseball too and doing some pitching lessons. And she looked at me and said, I think that you'd be a great teacher and I think you'd be a great football coach. And that kind of planted the seed in my mind to go that direction. And the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to pursue this thing and give back to, again, what's developed me. And, hopefully being able to plant those seeds into the next generation and hopefully have these guys wanting to come back, years later and wanting to give back to the community as well. So we can keep that, keep this thing going. Because if we don't do those things, I don't know where football stands.
Who's your biggest supporter?
My biggest supporter is hands down my wife because of how much time and effort it takes to be a head coach. She gets me on the high end of things. She gets me on the low end of things and everything in between. So definitely my wife. She is one of the biggest supporters of the East Central football program, and she's with us through the ups and downs. But I think that a lot of times, in a message for guys who are getting into being a head coach, for the first time maybe, and you got to have a staff around you that really supports who you are, because there's days where mentally, again, you're going to be high and mentally you're going to be low, and you need a great staff around you that's able to pull you out of those low moments, and really be there for you. So we have some really good ones on our staff that, when I'm feeling down, things like that, things aren't going well, that they're able to pull me up and, say, let's just get to work and let's figure this thing out. I keep a sign in my office that says, no excuses, find a way. And that's something that we try to preach, whether that's an injury, whether that's you are going up against a great challenge. We're not going to make excuses. We're going to try to find a way to go win a game. And so that's been every once in a while, my coaching staff needs to point at that sign and remind me of that lesson too. But it's great. And I have a really good support staff around me from my coaching staff, from administration standpoint, then all the way down to my wife. And, it's great because we're human too. Football coaches are human too. And sometimes we need that support.
Who's your go-to phone call after a big win?
My go-to phone call after a big win. Oh man. So there's some great people around, and I don't know if it's always a phone call. Normally it's a text message. But we have a local youth pastor in our area that will always send me a text message of something positive. Honestly, it's normally win or lose. That's something pretty positive from his end. But normally it's one of my older brothers. I'm the youngest of four brothers, and one of my older brothers who's a basketball coach. Actually, ironically, at Roncalli now. He's kind of made his rounds, but he's an assistant coach at Roncalli now. But he gets it. He gets it. The coaching world, and so he normally will shoot me a text. Something. But my other two brothers too. My other two brothers, they don't coach at the high school level, but they do some youth coaching and things like that with their kids. And just seeing a nice text message from your brothers and from some local community members really means a lot.
What's your dream post-game meal?
My dream post-game meal? Well, so here in St. Leon, Indiana, because we're Greater Cincinnati school, basically, community that Skyline Chili. We typically have it almost every Friday night. We have Dave Dedden's up the road from us, owns the local Skyline Chili, and he normally has a few cheese conies waiting for us, whether we're on the road or whether we're at home. Dave's a great supporter of our community and really our school in general, but specifically our football program as well. And so we eat well on Friday nights after games.
Have you ever lost your voice mid-game?
Oh, yeah. So I have a naturally, and I don't know if you can hear this through the camera and stuff, but I have a naturally raspy voice. So really that during the summertime, at some point it's going to go, and I lose it until December. So there's been, now I can still get a little bit out here and there. But definitely there's been points, we've been in a semi-state matchup, the crowd's yelling and I can't say a word. And so I have to say things through a headset, hit somebody else to yell something, to our players and things like that. But yeah, it goes pretty quickly.
What's your most heated coach-to-coach moment?
Coach-to-coach moment, like against another team?
No,
or
on your own staff.
On my own staff? I can't remember. I can't think of one specific time. Generally, we're all pretty much on the same page as far as what we're wanting to do. We actually have I would call it a loud headset. But at the same time, we have it's a very calm headset, and so we're very calm during games, things like that. One that comes to mind is we had a young coach who had played for us in our program, who's coming back to help out, and he was just excited about a play we made on the field, and so he goes jumping up and down out to the numbers. So I had to politely tell him that he's not going to cost me a 15-yard penalty by getting out to the numbers, because the officials, and it's for safety, and it's very much a good rule, but they don't like you coming off the sideline very often, even if you're cheering for your own guys.
Mm-hmm. If you had to switch from being a player to coach or a coach to player with one of your players, who would it be?
A current player that we have, so if we were to switch roles, I think our quarterback, Nolan Maple, right now, would be a very solid choice for that. Number one, I played quarterback in high school. And so, I'd give anything to go relive the glory days. I'd probably only last about a series, but I'd give anything to go relive the glory days one more time. But Nolan Maple, he's an exceptional leader in our program. He's an exceptional teammate. He is very knowledgeable. He's really on board with what we want to do. He's really invested in our scouting reports. He really will. He'll invest in what we are, the messages that we're relaying to the players. He's a part of that process as well. So with him, I think he's got the right mindset. I tell him all the time, I don't know if coaching is in his future or not, but he'd make a heck of a coach one day.
What was your witnessing first win like?
Oh, my first win. So my first win was down at Lawrenceburg, that environment that I was talking about, down in the pit, one of the cooler environments with everybody down on the field. And I remember going into the game, feeling good about our game plan and feeling good about our scouting report and what we had going into the game. And then the first half, we just went out and played horribly. I coached horribly in the first half, and I was like, man, I don't know if we're going to win this game. I don't know what's going to happen here. And we were able to settle down a little bit and play a nice second half, and fortunately walk away with the win. But I think I did an interview after that game and with a local paper or somebody, I can't remember, but I remember seeing the video, and man, I was going 100 miles an hour. I didn't. I was excited. There's just a bunch of emotions going through my mind. So, I was hired at a really young age. I was hired as a young coach, and I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself to go prove that I could do this. And there was no pressure coming from any external factors. It was just myself wanting to prove that I could do this thing. And so seeing the guys and then, being in that huddle afterwards, those seniors that year giving me a hug. And we went through a tough off season that year too. Unfortunately, we lost a player in our program that year to a car accident. And so that was our first game back too, as a program playing for him. And so all the emotions that were going into it, there was excitement, there was joy, but there was also the realization that, we went out and had a victory, and we played a game of football without one of our brothers. And so there was a lot of hugging, a lot of joy, but there was also, a lot of raw emotion along the way. So that's a game I'll never forget. And I don't think any coach really forgets their first win.
What's the funniest thing you've heard being yelled by a fan?
The funniest thing being yelled by a fan. So we have somebody in our crowd that right before kickoff likes to yell, "Somebody hit somebody," and he yells at the top of his lungs, and all of our guys really get into it and really enjoy it. Really get a kick out of it. And so now our guys will repeat it afterwards. But there's different things. We've had some years where some people are yelling, "Run the football." Some are yelling, "Throw the football." And as a coach, you're just like, yell at me about one thing. Yell at me either run the football or yell at me to either throw the football. So, but you definitely hear it. You definitely hear things being yelled. But and I know that those aren't truly that funny. But that's just things that have stuck out at the top of my head.
All right, Coach. My last question of the day is, what's the strangest pregame meal you've ever seen a player eat?
Strangest one is probably Skyline Chili. Now we keep our players after school on Friday nights, and so our booster club does a phenomenal job and makes them a meal, makes them a spread that's great spread before a football game. But every once in a while, you'll see a player sneak a cheese coney in here and there in the locker room, and I'm just like, how are you eating that stuff before we're about to go out and play a game? But they're young men, and they can do it. And so we've seen them do all kinds of crazy things.
All right, Coach, I want to thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm Brian Jones. He's Coach Jake Miners. Thank you for listening. At Sideline Shenanigans, we celebrate everything about the game: grit, grind, and glory. But behind the jerseys and Friday Night Lights, there's something way more important: your life. Mental health is just as real and critical as any injury you can see. And when the pressure feels too heavy or the pain gets too quiet, know this: you are not alone. We lose far too many teammates, classmates, and friends to suicide. One life lost is one too many. If you're struggling, speak up. If you see someone hurting, reach out. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It shows strength beyond the scoreboard. You matter, your story matters, and there is help. Call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 24/7. No shame, just support. We are all on the same team when it comes to mental health. Let's have each other's backs on and off the field. Thank you.